Joining me now is Willie Walsh, Director General of the International Air Transport Association and, of course, the former Chief Executive, International Airlines Group. That's the parent company of British Airways and Aer Lingus. Willie, good to see you this afternoon. You've put the cost of this to the airlines at more than £100 million.
Yes, Ian, it's still early to put an accurate cost on it. But when you look at the level of disruption, the number of flights that have been cancelled, the widespread additional delays that have been incurred, the number of passengers that have had their flights disrupted or cancelled, the cost is huge. And you've got to feel sorry for anyone and everyone who's been caught up on this. And as you said in your introduction, the problems will continue for a couple of days. Obviously, the situation is getting better, but the disruption will continue as airlines struggle to repatriate people who had cancelled flights on Monday or Tuesday.
Are you surprised that the system was brought down by one piece of data being misfed?
Absolutely shocked. If the explanation that we've been given publicly is accurate, it seems bizarre to me that such a simple issue could have caused the primary and backup systems to collapse. So I think this investigation should be detailed. I understand the results of the investigation will be made public, so we'll get an opportunity to evaluate that. But I'm surprised that Martin, the CEO at NATS, is so confident that the problem won't reoccur. So we do need to see a lot more detail before we can be satisfied that we should have confidence in NATS going forward.
Willie, what about this investigation to which you just referred there, that the CAA is going to be carrying out, the Civil Aviation Association? I mean, do you have confidence in the process? What are the sort of terms under which they should be investigating?
Yeah, that's a great question, Ian, because the CAA has responsibility to actually review and satisfy itself that the business continuity and resilience plans of NATS are robust. So, in fact, I think the CAA has questions to answer as well. It will be important that we have quite open investigation, transparency around this so that we can challenge what is being said and better understand both the cause and the actions taken. And indeed, what actions will be taken going forward to ensure that we don't have a recurrence of this problem.
Obviously, you've run a big global airline business. How does NATS compare with its peers in other countries? Is it noticeably better or worse, would you say?
Generally, I would have had a very high opinion of NATS, and that's why I'm surprised that this failure has occurred. It's not what I would have expected from them. And particularly given the explanation that has been given, that's the thing that surprises me the most, because if a simple error, data being incorrectly input by an airline somewhere was able to bring down the whole system, you do have to question whether the system was as resilient as people believed it to be. But it's a shocking performance from NATS. It's led to massive disruption. And clearly, it's unacceptable that we get this level of disruption at a peak time of the year, indeed unacceptable at any time of the year. And I think NATS have a lot of questions that need to be answered.
Now, you've called for the passenger compensation scheme to be rebalanced. What did you mean by that expression?
Yeah, I think this is a great example of where this regulation, which was introduced in 2004, as you know, it's EU 261, EU regulations that has then been widely interpreted by European courts, and I think is very different to what people had expected when it was first introduced. But when that was introduced, it was felt that airlines were responsible for delays and therefore should bear the cost associated with that. But in this event, as we've seen in many other events, it's very clear that the cause of this problem was completely outside of the control of airlines, and yet they will be responsible for carrying the bill. So we believe that this is a great example of why this legislation needs to be reviewed and where compensation is paid by the people who caused the problem. And in this case, the problem very clearly caused by NATS. They should be held to account and they should pay for the expenses that have been incurred.
Isn't the problem, though, with that, Willie, that, NATS is partly owned by the likes of British Airways, Virgin Atlantic and EasyJet. They're effectively going to be paying a penalty either way.
Well, I represent, all airlines, over 300 airlines, so not just, the airlines that have a shareholding in NATS. But I would argue this regardless of whether it was owned by the airlines or owned by somebody else. It is an example of where a part of the system fails, leaving the airlines to sort out the problem and pick up the bill when the problem is not of their making. And it's clear that the regulation, I don't believe, was ever designed to be interpreted the way it is and does need to be reviewed. And, you know, if ever there was a case for why it needs to be reviewed, I think we have it now. So it's well within the scope of the UK government in a post-Brexit environment where they want to look at all of the prior EU regulations and legislations to review this and have a more balanced approach. And I'm not saying airlines shouldn't pay compensation where they're at fault. Clearly they should. But in this case, the airlines weren't at fault, and yet they are facing the anger of customers, which I can fully understand. You know, the customer wants to get home or get to their destination. But the problem was caused by gnats, and airlines are a victim in this situation. They're not the cause of the problem.
Willie, why do you think gnats are being so coy about what actually happened here and what caused this failure?
I don't understand that fully, Ian. I have to be honest. I think if they're so clear in terms of what caused the problem, they should come out with it, you know, now. I don't think it needs to be a detailed investigation by the CAA. If the problem is as simple as they say it is, I suspect there's more to it. But, you know, we'll wait until Monday when the report is due to be handed to the Secretary of State. NATS have said it will be made public, and I'm sure the Secretary of State will want to make it public as well, because it's very important that, you know, we have confidence in the system and confidence in NATS' ability to operate. But at the moment, I have to say, my confidence in NATS has been badly shaken. And until we can evaluate the cause and the actions taken by NATS to address this, we're going to have a doubt about whether they're the right party to continue to operate the system.
And just to go back to the point that you were making about the financial pain that the airlines are going to suffer as a result of this, in your experience, how easy or difficult is it for the airlines to insure themselves against a loss of service by NATS when it's clearly not their fault?
Yeah, it's very, very difficult. Getting insurance for issues like this is a problem. I know many airlines have looked at it, have been put off by both the cost of getting that insurance, but also the restrictions around when the insurance would kick in. So I think this is just going to hit the bottom line of airlines. And clearly, you know, that's what frustrates and angers the airline, as well as, you know, feeling the frustration and anger of the customers who have been impacted by this.
Willie, it's good to catch up with you this morning. Greatly appreciate you sparing the time. Thank you.
Thanks, Ian.